listening to the Certified Personal Trainer Podcast, a show by personal trainers for personal trainers. It's time to become a better trainer, get more clients, and change more lives.
Hey guys, what's up? My name is Samantha and I am a part of the Fitness Mentors community. I am a sales coach here at Fitness Mentors and I also am the mentoring coach here at Fitness Mentors. Today I am super excited to be on this podcast where we are going to be talking about finding the courage and finding the strength to pick yourself up after an injury. Or perhaps we're talking about some clients that have had injury, or if we've had injury in the past and it starts creeping up on us. I'm super excited to be diving into this today, guys. Before we do this, I just want to tell you guys a little bit about myself. I myself went to school for musical theater. I am a performer, and I also had a minor in dance and kinesiology. I absolutely love the body, and that's kind of why I also chose to become a personal trainer about 7 years ago now. And about half a year ago, I was fortunate enough to join this Fitness Mentors community where, as I said, I do sales and I also am the mentoring coach here at Fitness Mentors. I absolutely love the community. And after watching today's podcast, please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, not just about injury, but about the business side of things, the marketing side of things. If you're interested in any of our products, please feel free to reach out, guys. All right, y'all, so let's get started. So today we're going to be talking a lot about injury. And as much as injury in our clients is super important and crucial to learn about, I do want to touch on first trainers getting injured and us as coaches getting injured. I think a lot of times this isn't talked about in the industry as much as it needs to be, especially because of the impact that it has on us, not just physically, but mentally. And what shame and guilt can come with this, and really developing the courage to kind of go back into our program, go back into coaching people after an injury. I personally now know how difficult and hard that is. So I'm super happy that Fitness Mentors asked me to be a part of today's podcast. And I know that was because I personally kind of just went through this, and I am still currently recovering from an injury that I had. So let's talk about it. So I was in a show back in April and I was having some neck pain. I wasn't too sure what it was. I kind of kept going as a trainer and dancer would, as I'm sure many of you viewing push through injuries a lot, and maybe sometimes when it's a little bit too much of a push, we keep going. So I kept going. I kept dancing. I kept doing my show, and that was that. I came home, back to my home base in Alabama. I kept lifting. I was hitting a new program that I created for me, a little summer program, and I was super focused. And turns out I was overdoing it, and I overdid it to the point where I developed some pretty severe tendonitis in my supraspinatus muscle, which is a pretty small muscle in that upper back area, and it's part of the rotator cuff muscles. It's one of the four. And I thought that I tore my rotator cuff at first because the pain was so harsh. It was so bad that one day I was lifting, one day I was killing it in the gym. The next day I was physically not able to get out of bed because it was so bad. And as you guys know, I do work remote for Fitness Mentors. I was at the point where I literally had to wear a neck brace at one point because I was in such excruciating pain trying to just keep my neck and head sturdy. So it was pretty quick. It was pretty sudden. To this day, I don't really know what happened in the gym that day that made it so the next day I could barely get out of bed. But I do know that, especially because it was tendonitis, I am definitely aware that it was a lot of stuff that added to this injury. It was not just one time. I didn't fall. I didn't have a crazy car crash, something that is it's one situation. No, this was months in the making to have this tendonitis be so painful, so excruciating. And and honestly, something that crushed me mentally. I was pretty low. This was one of the lowest points I've been in my personal training career, in my musical theater dancing career, and just in general. My lifestyle completely changed. And over the last 3 to 4 months, my body completely changed. And I think, that's inevitable. That's going to happen when we injure ourselves. Our physique will change, which I'm sure we can all agree that kind of stinks. Our outlook on our program is definitely going to change, because we're going to think, was it my programming that got me injured? Is it my fault? Right? We're going to start blaming ourselves right from the start. So today I have kind of thought about this, and I've let it marinate, and I've thought of 3 kind of key points that I want to go over today. The first is to educate yourself on the injury at hand, okay? So all of these points, by the way, guys, we can apply this to our clients. We can. Now, we are not doctors. As personal trainers, we are not doctors, and it is our responsibility to immediately, when there is pain, address it in our clients. But we need to start treating ourselves like our clients. And I always tell this to my trainers who I mentor and to my clients. I always say that trainers need to treat themselves like clients, right? So that first key point that I want to make today is educate yourself on your injury or your client's injury, right? We might have preconceived notions. We might think that we know what an ACL tear or a rotator cuff tear means and what exercises we need to do to help. No, everyone's different, okay? So we need to have your client or have yourself see a doctor or physician immediately. If an MRI or X-ray is needed, let's get that in there. And then once we know a diagnosis, we're going to educate ourselves on it to a T. We're going to know exactly, or at least attempt to know exactly what's going on in our body, how we can help it, what foods we can eat, what rest we can give our body. All of these things you need to educate yourself on right from the start so that you set yourself up for success in the long run. Now, the second point I have for you guys today is to make sure we are setting goals, not just for ourselves and with ourselves, but with our physical therapist, right? With our physician, writing down these goals, making them smart, attainable goals for our recovery process. Now, this can be a little bit difficult, especially creating a measurable goal, because sometimes we don't know how the body's going to respond. But when we make a goal in general, it is proven that there is less psychological discomfort and there's increased motivation, right? And that's what we want, especially when we are down in the dumps about our injuries. This is going to be crucial. And to be candid with your physical therapist or your doctor or your physician, letting them know where you want to be by a certain time or where you hope to be by a certain time, and allowing them to have insight on your goals so that you two can work together. The relationship that you should try to build with your physician or physical therapist during a severe or minor injury is the same exact relationship we want to build with our clients. It's super 50-50, and that communication is super on point throughout the whole thing, throughout the whole injury. We want that communication to be A1, guys, okay? So that's super important. I really want everyone to harp on that, especially because of my injury that I just went through personally. I think at first I had goals that were not attainable. I wanted to be back up on my feet doing shoulder presses, within a couple weeks. That wasn't a thing. I wasn't going to be able to do that. But guess who told me that the moment I told them that was my goal? My physical therapist. And at the time, did it sting a little? Absolutely. But in the long run, he helped me set myself up for success by gearing my goals and saying, hey, it looks like we probably won't be able to do that, but perhaps we can, shoulder press a band in a couple of weeks. And then from there, we will grow into those dumbbells and barbell eventually, right? And the other main point around goal setting is the idea of longevity. As trainers especially, we want our bodies to hold on. We want to treat them right. And if we focus on longevity rather than, oh, I need to get back in the gym and do shoulder presses, if we focus on that longevity aspect, our goals are going to be smarter. They're going to be more measurable and attainable. And they're going to, in the long run, help us not get injured again, right? That's the goal, is to not get injured. But if you don't have goals and aspirations setting you up for success right from the start, it probably is not going to work. It's probably going to fail you in the long run. And that's going to blend us into the last point I kind of want to make today on this whole injury idea. And that last point is, don't rush the process. I think that in general, it goes without saying, trainers love working out. A lot of us rely on the gym, not just for a physical release of stress, but mental. The gym, I know personally, is my safe haven sometimes. I absolutely love going to the gym, putting my AirPods in, and for an hour and a half, not having anything on my mind, but loving myself and loving my body. So I definitely rushed the process. I rushed the process of recovery, and in return, my injury lasted longer. And I can assure you that if you rush the process, that will probably happen to you as well. A way to focus on not rushing that process is obviously focusing on longevity, right? If we rush the process, the injury will creep its way back in. The injury will not go away, or you will not heal properly, and the injury will always be there. It might be less than, it might be a little bit less of a harsh injury, but it will always be there, which will cause imbalances in the long run, and it will cause us not to be able to really go up in our fitness journey. It will just have us plateauing, right? So really try to not rush the process. There's a lot of shame, there's a lot of guilt, there's a lot of really negative emotions that can come into play when we have an injury. But let me fill you in on some things that I did for myself. I found other things to focus on in my life while I was injured. My health and fitness journey will always be top 5 things in my life. So I allowed myself to get really into cooking. I found really fun and healthy recipes that I came to love, and I now use most of those recipes. Before, I definitely was a brown rice and chicken girl, and now I look forward to every meal knowing that it's going to be delicious and nutritious and awesome. And that was something that I really focused on while I was injured and couldn't have that, that physical fun thing going for me in the gym. I brought it to the kitchen, and I kind of created some new goals on my nutrition journey. I started reading. I only like reading things that are textbooks or plays. I got into reading some novels, and I think, honestly, if I had not gotten injured, I probably would have never gotten into reading. So that's something I did that I'm super proud of. And the last thing I really allowed myself to do while I was injured is I focused on not allowing myself to fall back into this idea that the gym was only for my physique. And that's pretty personal. And I think I'm in a very vulnerable state saying that. But I think it's also very easy for a lot of us, especially as trainers, to feel like we have to look a certain way. We have to play a certain part. And we have to be a certain role in all of our clients' lives and on social media and all that. And that doesn't mean I don't like looking good. I love going to the gym for my physique. But after being injured, I realized that I go to the gym more for my mental health. I go to the gym for a lot more reasons rather than just going to the gym for my physique. So now when I go to the gym, I walk in there with gratitude. I walk in there being so thankful that my body has recovered the way it has and that I can shoulder press those dumbbells and that I'm finally recovering. And that is because I followed these steps that I've given you guys today. But it's also because I think I've learned to love my body and love it for who it is and all of those wonderful, beautiful things that I think at the end of the day, we should be preaching to our clients as well. But yeah, guys, I could honestly talk about this all day. Just to touch on everything that I went over today, those 3 main thoughts are: please educate yourself on your injury. Make sure that you're setting up those goals, and also do not rush the process. If you guys want to chat with me one-on-one personally about maybe an injury that you're going through or an injury that your clients are going through, or if you have questions in general about anything, physical fitness, personal training, mental health, I would love to chat. Feel free to email me or email anyone at the team here at Fitness Mentors. I am super glad that I was able to be on here today, and I look forward to being on here hopefully soon. And like I said, please reach out. Know that you will push through. You will push through that injury when you deal with it in the correct way. Injuries do not have to last forever, right? Science and medicine is so good these days, right? There's ways to heal yourself both physically and mentally. And sorry about my dog barking. Bye, guys.
As always, thanks for listening to the Certified Personal Trainer Podcast. You can learn more about Fitness Mentors at fitnessmentors.com. Be sure to share this podcast on social media. And remember, we are here to help you succeed.